This isn't just any camera. This was Nikon's flagship pro camera back in June of 2006. That's right, this thing is almost 20 years old. Back in 2006, this camera debuted at $4,700. And if you factor in inflation, that same camera would have cost a ridiculous $7,478.85 today. That's a huge investment. So the goal for this video is to see if this camera still has any value left and if you should consider buying it today in 2025 and beyond. Let's take a look at a camera that many of you out there might very well consider obsolete. The Nikon D2xs came out in late June of 2006. It's a 12.4 megapixel camera. Now, I know by today's standards, and for those of you that live and die by the megapixel, this might put you off. But for what it is, 12.4 megapixels is more than enough for most applications. For general use, a 12 megapixel image still makes beautiful 11 by 14 prints and some really sweet 16 by 20 prints if you're not really inspecting them from up close. So for most intents and purposes, this is still a functional and relevant camera to shoot with. The body itself is gigantic. It's heavy. With the battery, it's almost 3 pounds. That can get a little annoying after a while of just shooting and shooting. I'm sure I'm an outlier, but I like these big, bulky cameras. It's a psychological thing, I'm sure, but for me, it makes me feel like I'm holding something quality if it has good weight to it. This is a camera for serious people. People that love the nostalgia of shooting with these huge rigs. I think one of the most captivating aspects of this camera is the endless opportunities it offers to tweak your settings and fine-tune exactly what's happening inside. Yes, it was built for professionals of its time, designed to meet their demands with precision and reliability. That's precisely what makes it such an excellent starter camera today. If you can master this camera, you'll be able to handle just about anything else life throws your way, trust me. It's my opinion that the D2xs was marketed towards journalists and sports photographers at that time. The main reason being that it's not a full-frame camera.
What did you just say?
Even though the technology existed at that time, and it probably should have been a full frame. I don't know, why did Nikon go down this road? Well, they wanted to prioritize faster frame rates and better autofocus performance, so they kind of put their money that way. They also had a large catalog of DX lenses, so it just made sense to kind of go down this road for this particular series. A full frame sensor was better suited at the time for more studio work or landscape photography. Now, I am not a photojournalist or a sports photographer, but I am a fan of a good deal. And the chance to own a flagship Nikon digital camera, a camera that once cost almost $5,000 for well under 300 bucks, that's just too good to pass up. I'm a huge fan of the used market. I picked this one up on eBay, and it's in very, very good shape. I picked up a used Nikkor 12 to 24 millimeter lens for around 200 bucks and an SB700 flash for right around $100. So for 600 bucks, I have a full setup that's ready to shoot whatever you put in front of it. One thing that does suck about this camera is that it does use compact flash. However, I found an adapter and I was able to connect a 32 gigabyte SD card to it and it worked. I was a little afraid to use a larger capacity SD card, but it worked. So problem solved. I'll link all that cool stuff like this down below. Now the real question is, how does it shoot? And can it match or beat the results using a more modern camera? I recently went on a 2-week road trip with my wife, a very well-deserved and fun excursion that we both enjoyed very much. I know we're talking about cameras, but I'll tell you friends, I could own every piece of technology and camera gear known to man, but nothing will ever feel as good as traversing through the country with your soulmate and best friend. Now, I thought it would be a good idea to lug around this giant through our adventures to see how it does out in the wild. Here are some of the photos I got with this camera. I gotta be honest, going into this, I didn't really know what to expect from the Nikon D2xs. I mean, here's a DSLR that dropped in the mid 2000s, back when flip phones were the craze and YouTube had just been born. And yet, as I started shooting with it, I kept thinking to myself, wait a minute, this thing holds up, like surprisingly well. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a fat beast. Built like a tank, nothing is really built like this in the age of convenience. But when I started comparing the images to what I've been getting out of my, let's say, Panasonic G9, a camera that's more than a decade newer, it blew my mind. The detail was there. The tonality, the way it handled highlights and shadows, it didn't feel old, it felt classic. There's this richness to the files, a certain weight that you don't always get with modern sensors. Everything today is so streamlined, so sharp and clinical, but the D2xs has just this character. It felt like shooting on film without actually shooting film. And it really made me think, have we actually made huge leaps forward in image quality since then? Or have we just made everything smaller, lighter, and more convenient? Because if this was Nikon's flagship nearly two decades ago, and it delivers like this, then perhaps the magic isn't always in the megapixels. I love cameras. I love how each one paired with the right lens creates its own unique visual fingerprint. It's like a recipe, different ingredients, different results. And with so many types out there, the creative possibilities feel limitless. This setup is just one of those recipes. I've always had a soft spot for big, chunky cameras like these. There's something satisfying about the heft. I don't know, aside from pain, but the mechanical feel and the fact that it still delivers beautiful, sharp images. At the end of the day, choosing a camera is mostly subjective. The truth is, most of them are already more than good enough. Now, if you're shopping for a full-frame DSLR from this era, take a look at the Canon 5D or the Nikon D3, which actually replaced the D2xs. These have full-frame sensors in case that was a non-negotiable. I think what's cool about this hobby is that it doesn't have to break the bank. You can easily get in under $1,000 or even $500 depending on the setup you choose, which in today's dollars isn't unreasonable. I think the $300 I spent on this body was more than reasonable, and I would recommend going this route, especially if you have a lot of Nikon lenses. Always remember, friends, at the end of the day, the camera body itself is just a big dumb box. And if you're only shooting photos, spend your scruples on the glass. Also, one last thing, this body doesn't have image stabilization, and neither does this lens. Nikon does offer VR lenses, which my dumbass should have bought one from the start. You big dummy. But alas, I didn't, and had to learn the hard way about how shaky and unreliable my hands are and have become over the years. So that's another thing. Image stabilization really does matter, and I highly recommend getting gear that compensates for your hands, especially at slower shutter speeds. Thank you for watching the video. This is the second in a series of videos about 2000s retro tech, and I hope you're liking it so far. If you'd like to support my efforts, the best way is to subscribe to the channel. It's free, and it's the best way to say, job well done. I want to grow, and if you believe in the content, I'll keep making more. If you want to go a step further, Patreon is a great way to become a consistent contributor so I can invest more into the videos, or if you want something in return, something you can touch, check out my online t-shirt shop. I'll provide a link down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to take some photos with the like button.
That was fun.
Thank you for checking out my video. I'll see you on the next one, friends. Take care.